Welcome to Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling, the ESPN for all things comedy, with your hosts, Mark Riccadonna and Richie Byrne. And now, grab a drink and welcome Mark Riccadonna and Richie Byrne.
Hello and welcome to Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling. I'm your host, Mark Riccadonna, and with me as always,
Richie Byrne.
I feel like it's been a long time, buddy.
It's been a very long time. Very long time. I mean, wow. How are you? Happy holidays and all that bullshit.
Happy holidays, New Year. How you feeling?
I'm okay. I'm still a little weak. Like I know I still I had it again. It's the new Christmas tradition for me is to get the coronavirus. Every Christmas, Santa.
As soon as Richie starts coughing, we hear it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
Yeah,
so you missed your New Year's Eve gig because of this.
I missed
right?
my New Year's Eve gig, which sucked. And but that's good. I have another gig in August, so I'm good. I'm sure I could pay the mortgage. This thing is, how about this? Cisco calls me last week to book me a gig, right? A gig, and I had to cancel something else to take the gig. It wasn't a gig; it was a rehearsal for something. So I take the gig this last week, and then the people call me and go, "Yeah, we're worried about COVID." So, like, you weren't worried about COVID a week ago?
But it's a new thing. Did you just hear about it?
Yeah. So, I was...
Last night I did 101.5 with Steve Trevelise. He says hello.
Hello, Steve. I got to call and talk about how bad the Giants are. We're good Giants.
That's what he said. He goes, tell Richie to call me. We'll cry over the Giants.
I will. I love Steve. How'd that go? Good?
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. Ronnie Marmo was on. We talked about cancel culture, and then we did some trivia. It was a lot of fun.
Cool.
And we had a couple call-ins from comics. It was really nice to hear. Bob Levy called in. Johnny Watson called in. Coleman Green. Mike Morris.
Nice.
It was nice. It was cool. It was like a comic reunion on the Jersey airwaves.
Cool.
Well, this week we have a fun show because we have a guest host sitting in with us, and then we also have our very special guest. So, why don't you do the introduction?
Well, I'll do the first. You do the second.
Okay.
She's coming on. She's a guest. She's guesting with us. She's an old friend. We love her to death. And is she learning how to produce? Is that what I'm hearing?
I think she's going to be doing a little behind the scenes and a little on the screen stuff.
Well, she's a great comic and she's been a great friend to us, to DJS. Vicky Plummer, come on out, Vicky.
I'm hit. There we go. There she is.
Like I always want to do like the Tonight Show walkout. We're sitting in our chairs.
Paul, hit the music.
Yeah. Hey, I'm so happy to see you guys. It's been way too long. And Happy New Year. Yeah. And Richie, I'm glad you're feeling better. That's good.
Thank you. Yeah, I was never really that bad. You know what's fun? I'll tell you the whole story. Let's get Don out, and then I'll tell you.
We have a special guest. I got to do this guy. I don't know how you guys all know him, but I met him through podcasting, and I think it's such a cool thing that he does a great show called Top 5, and I'll let him explain how the show works. But I had one of the greatest times doing his show, and it made me like a little nervous and excited because I had to make choices before we went on air. Not only is he tremendously funny, smart, knows what he's doing, this man is also one of the more handsome people I've ever met in my life.
Because he looks like you in 20 years.
Yep. There he is, Don Sill, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
The Man Podcast reunite.
Hello. I am Mark from the future. How's everybody doing?
Hey.
Yeah,
I love that there's a shark coming out of your wall, like right by your head.
Kill that shark and put it on your wall.
This is my homage. This is the Wayne's World background from Wayne's World, and when we all first went into the pandemic, I threw this up because they're like the original podcasters, you know.
Yeah.
And I guess stuck with me. And I've kept it as a background for like the last year and a half or so since I've been quarantined, you know, in the beginning of the pandemic doing this stuff. So
did people do the theme song? You know, Wayne's World, party time.
We've had a few get into it. Some people, I guess, let them. What's that, Richie?
The 4 people that remember it.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it was the best. That was like the best skit, and I had the like, you know, home kind of graphics, and it would be like Wayne's World. I loved that when I was in college. That gives away my age, but I loved that.
I loved Wayne's World too. And one thing I get is some people aren't familiar with the show, with Wayne's World, will look at the banners and be like, "What's all the Chicago stuff, man? I thought you were a New York guy, you know."
You're like, oh.
But
my favorite part of Wayne's World movie was Ed O'Neill.
Yeah,
he was so great at
it. Classic indeed. But yeah, thanks again. It was great having you.
We were talking about Corona, and I had it again. And Vicky, you said that they should have done away with.
Yeah, this is a new bit I just came up with, and it actually I had my mom laughing so hard I thought she had Corona. But I said, because she couldn't pronounce it, and this is actually, all right, let me just tell you exactly how this happened. You know when you tune out your parents, they're talking so much, you're home for the holidays, right? You don't really listen to what they're saying. So my mom's telling me, you know, well, my friend got COVID. And I was like, what did you just say? And she's like, yeah, my friend got COVID. And I was like, what? And she said it like 4 times. And I finally was like, it's COVID. It's not COVID. And we had this argument for about half an hour, right? Then she starts talking about the Delta variant. She got that one right. And then don't even ask me how she said Omicron. I don't even know what it was. And I finally was like, you know, the CDC, they got it wrong. It shouldn't have been named after the Greek alphabet. They should have just named it after swear words. It should have just been like, you know, the bag of dicks variant. And can you imagine Fauci on the air saying, you know, the bag of dicks variant is really strong. Wear a mask. And we were hysterical. We were dying. And she's like, you got to put that in your act. And I was like, you are going in the act, Coben. And so it's been killing.
You were in the act as soon as you said Coben.
That's what I said. It's been killing. I actually had a friend of mine text me yesterday and he goes, I can't stop thinking about Coben. And I was like, yeah, that's staying. So, but the swear words one, doesn't it just make you feel so good to just swear and be like the fucking variant? Oh, and I want to hear newscasters saying it. I want them to be like, you know, the motherfucking variant was discovered in Africa by, you know, Joe Schmo scientist. Oh, it would feel so good to like see them saying that. And no one would forget them. They'd all be able to pronounce them except my mom. She'd call it.
All of a sudden I would become an expert.
Right?
I don't know shit, but if we were allowed to swear, I'd become an expert.
Right?
Is this the fuck that variant or the fuck this variant? I forget. One of the two.
And you know, straight guys would wear masks because they wouldn't want to be like, I had the bag of dicks variant. Oh, I'm not getting that.
I had to come in your mouth. I had to come in your mouth the other day. I gotta tell you.
No, as long as you're
I wish
giving
I
it,
lost
not
my
receiving it.
taste. Let me just say that.
I had the pull-out variant. I got it, though. I got it. I thought we were safe. Oh, my God. So crazy. Like, you can't pronounce half the shit. And then I love that other comics are trying to make fun of it and use it as, like, sororities and fraternities. And I'm like, no one else figured that out. Okay. You know? But It's just too funny. But yeah, Coben, I'm like, and she still says it on the phone. Great. I'm like, Mom, it is not Coben. That's an author's name. His name's Harlan Coben. He's not a disease, okay? I'm like, ugh.
I can't wait to get to the age where you're allowed to mispronounce things and nobody corrects you. That'll be the greatest. I love you talk to an old guy and they'll go like, just take a Uber from the airport to the club.
And they don't care. They don't care.
Mark, when you do, you'll look like Don.
Exactly.
My father-in-law goes, "What? Just buy the tickets. I'll Venmo you." I'm like, I have a feeling I won't get the money if you Venmo me.
Venmo. My landlord, Anna, she lives down below. She's from Ecuador, and it's the pandemia. That's all it's the pandemia. The whole thing's the pandemia. I'm like, the what? You know?
I think you might have something though. If you get an app and have a Friendmo app now, you could beat the curve on that one.
Oh God, I can't wait for this thing to be over though. I'm like, man.
I don't think it's ever going to be over.
No.
Did you think it would be? We were talking about this in March of 2020.
Yes. March
of 2020. We were talking about this in January of 2020. Well,
I think now though, like this one, this Omicron, whatever. I think it's so contagious.
Omnipop.
You mean the fucking variant?
Yeah, the fuck that variant. I think because it's so contagious, but yet weaker than the Delta, the other ones. Maybe fingers crossed, we're kind of filtering it out somehow. I'm nowhere close to a scientist, but I'm hoping that this ultimately does something like that.
I call it the Omnipop variant because it keeps me out of work.
Or you get work great. And then they cancel on
you. I love you, Tom. Don't hate me, Tom. Yeah, like a Jingo's watching, right? Anyway, so Don, tell us about your podcast.
Yeah, that's
cool. Yeah, we gotta get you on there. Both you and Vicky on there. We had Mark on there. Basically, it's called Top Fives with Don Sill, and it's a very simple concept. It's everyone has a top 5 list about a subject. I love stand-up comedy. I've been a stand-up comedy nerd since birth, basically, since the first time I saw Johnny Carson when I was a little kid. So I love that so much, and so when I started dealing with comedians and doing the podcast, I just started doing a top 5 list, instead of doing it started, everybody does the Mount Rushmore of comedy. Who's your Mount Rushmore? So kind of derived off of that. It was a question I would use in interviews a lot. And then I saw that there was more to it, that you could actually learn a lot as you go. So if I do the top 5 comedians that emerged from the 70s, all of a sudden, if you're new to comedy or if you're just interested in that, you start learning a lot about these 70s comedians and start to really get an idea of kind of, the history of comedy through these two guys, me and the comedian kind of talking about, who our favorite comedians are from that era and why and what they did and all that stuff. Like the one with that I did with Mark was great. That was the top 5 movies about stand-up. And how
cool.
There are 5.
Yeah, we're saying that that movies about stand-up comedy are never comedies. They're always these
I know, right?
kind of dramas. It's never.
We did find the comedy and we put it in there. It made the top 5 with Shakes the Clown.
Shakes the Clown is
Shakes the Clown.
I don't think I've seen that one.
It's
so
great.
Good.
It's Bobcat Goldthwait stars in it. I think it's the only movie he ever starred in, and he directed it. And it was one of Mark's picks, and it ended up going to the top 5. But yeah, I also so outside of comedy, I've also had some musical ones. So we just had, I don't know if you guys know Legs McNeil. He's like a legendary journalist for Punk magazine. He was around punk rock from the beginning, the origins. So I got him on there. We did the top 5 most important punk bands. But yeah, we've had some great guests. Rick Overton was just on with the top 5 Robin Williams movies, which is not an easy list.
That's tough list.
I was watching. Patch Adams wasn't on it.
Yeah. Rick, was very close to Robin. Good. They were good friends, so it was hard for him to pick any. So he just kind of went off my top 5 list and threw in his 2 cents on everything. And he was a wealth of info. Just really, like, just the way he puts things and says things is just really solid. So that's a good one to watch.
What was the top one?
Well, for me, it was Good Will Hunting. Yeah.
That was such an interesting episode because it was just basically your picks, and then Rick told stories about your picks. So it was interesting. It got to be a little more. We got to know you a little more.
Yeah, it was cool. It was fun, and like the way Rick puts things into perspective sometimes, and also like when my number 5 for that one was Aladdin, and Rick then told me that he was in the room when Robin recorded some of the Aladdin stuff, and I was like, "Whoa, dude, it's intense, right?" Yeah, that's insane. When he did that, because for me, when Robin Williams did Aladdin, he changed the game for the way celebrities approach recording for cartoon movies and things like that. I think he raised the bar, and I think movies since then have been better for it. When whether it's whoever else, Tom Hanks doing Toy Story or what have you. But yeah, so it was just really super cool. The things I learned and the people I get to talk to with these top 5 lists is really great. I mean,
this is fascinating. I'm gonna have to watch all of these and get caught up. It's awesome.
It's a rabbit hole. Once you watch one, and then it suggests the next one, you're like, "Ooh, I got to find out what they said." And
what's the name of the show?
It's called Top 5s with Don Sill.
And what's it on?
It's on YouTube. You can find it on YouTube. I used to have a show that was called it was a game show called Put Up, Shut Up, and Stand Up. So it's on that URL. So if you search for Put Up, Shut Up, and Stand Up, you'll find the top 5s. And I have to update all that stuff. But when you start to get followers and stuff like that, it's hard to rebrand. You're like, I don't want to change everything and start from scratch. But yeah, I mean, we had another one I learned a lot on was with Maureen Lanigan. I was hanging with Langan. Yeah, Langan. And she was the top 5 women in stand-up that you should know, but you might not know. That, man, I learned a lot about like Belle Barth and certain comedians that were around back in the day that I didn't know about. So I love learning as well. Like, that's the biggest takeaway for me on this show is with stuff I get to learn by talking to all these people. So pretty cool.
The one that it was really funny when we first got introduced, I watched the one with Mitch Fatel, and it was the sexiest comedians.
Yeah.
And it was so interesting because I never thought about that. So as you guys were doing your list, I was doing mine in my head, and I never thought about it. So I'm sitting there.
Give me yours, Mark.
It's shit. What's that?
No, he's like, Richie, you're number 1.
Richie is 1 through 5 in my book. I didn't think about it when I don't remember which one of you guys brought it up, but Eddie Murphy. I would have never thought of him. But then when you mentioned him and about how he was like one of the first comics to be cool and confident, and it was like, and I was like, holy shit, this is like a game changer. It changes everything.
That was my pick. Yeah, because Eddie Murphy did to me really bring in sexuality into it. He talked about it a lot, but a lot of comics before him have, but none were desirable like Eddie was.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like when he walked around with the leather outfit. And
I thought it was weird you guys picked Dennis Wolfberg as your number 1.
He is a sexy son of a bitch.
The number 1, oddly enough, you guys both had the same pick and I did as well.
Elaine Boozler. No, I'm just kidding. It's not Elaine Boozler? No.
No, man, what's it from from the Jerry Lewis King of Comedy. Why can't I think of her name right now?
Oh shit. Really? You know why? Because Elaine Boozler's in my head.
I can't.
I'm thinking vintage 80s, you know, with the big
What's her
hair
name?
that she used
I
to
just
have.
saw her on a show the other day.
Sandra Bernhardt.
Sandra Bernhardt.
Yes. Yeah, Sandra Bernhardt was on both of our lists, which she's such a she embodies sexuality in a different way, like than you would think of, like when you think of like a Whitney Cummings or somebody like that, or like, you know, who kind of is you know, just the good looking girl walking down the street, where Sandra Bernhardt embodies it. It's inside of her soul somewhere. It radiates. We call it like the Kavorka. You know what I mean? It's just like, I don't know why I'm so attracted to her, but there's something about
look
her.
Away.
Yeah, exactly. And she has that alluring vibe. Whether she's like, and she's so out there too with her comedy. It's so different, you know. And whether she's singing jazz songs one second and then just acting really crazy the next, and the unpredictability of it all. But yeah, for me, she always had me locked when I was a little kid, and I did see the King of Comedy, and when she was seducing or whatever Jerry Lewis when he's tied up, that scene always is in my mind since I was a little kid, whenever I think about Sandra Bernhardt. So yes, and it was cool that Mitch Fatel also had her on his list as well.
And it wasn't because she like kissed Madonna that one time.
That's probably definitely on there. Yeah, exactly.
No, you remember Truth or Dare that she kissed Madonna? That was a big thing, and I think it's like the late 80s, early 90s that she did that, and that was like a big deal, you know. So I know you guys like seeing two girls making out. It's like a big thing. So.
I don't care if there's two, as long as there's just one.
So.
True indeed.
Now, Richie, now thinking of a top 5, and now that you know the gist of of what a show is, what would a topic that would really intrigue you? Because Don nailed me with saying like movies about comedy. Like, I love talking movies. I can sit and talk movies, you know, for hours. So it was like, you nailed it. Perfect. You had Scheidner with comics that emerged from the 70s. That guy's like a goddamn encyclopedia.
I learned so much from him, man.
So
and also Richard Zoglin. I interviewed Richard Zoglin. He wrote the book. I can't think of the name of his book right now. History on the Edge, or Comedy on the Edge.
Comedy on the Edge.
It's all about all these kind of game changer comedians from history. So talking to him, you learn. He also recently just wrote a book about Bob Hope and Bob Hope's career and how he's overlooked as a stand-up. He's never in the conversation, Bob Hope. Meanwhile, he's probably one of the most influential comedians of all time. You know, he gets overshadowed by the 70s comedians, in my opinion, because if you ask anybody who their favorite comedian is, they always go back to the 70s, right? Richard Pryor, Carlin, you know, Robert Klein, those guys. No, very rarely do they go further. They never go into Catskills era, and they never go into the, you know, vaudeville or radio era. But without guys like Bob Hope, Milton Berle, and those guys, they kind of set the tone and got the ball for regular stand-up, like actually stand-up punch types. Rhythm. You know, Bob Hope had that rhythm timing, the one-liners. But
Bob Hope was the biggest person on the planet, and then he became not cool because he was Dad's favorite comic.
Yeah.
That's what happens all throughout history, man. Like, it's crazy how what's cool becomes corny from one generation to the other. It's so
that
crazy,
happened
man.
to me. I was 22, but it happened to me.
But Bob Hope entertained so many troops and did so many amazing things, like all the way up until he passed away. I think he was, if I remember hearing this right, he was like the comic who entertained the most troops ever.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Well, the
like,
USO
amazing.
really was on his back. I mean, like he was the guy. He was the spokesman for the USO.
I think when he lost his cool was that whole 70s era with Vietnam and all that stuff, because he was still so pro troops. The culture was going anti-war. The culture was going more hippie. He was still the guy making fun of men with long hair. Hey, you miss. Oh, I'm sorry, you're a man. You know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's why he kind of, I think, was when he started to downtrend, so to speak, and get out of the conversation.
He aged out because during Vietnam he was going over there, and I know several people that I talked to that's like, man, I'm getting shot at every afternoon when I go out on patrol, and this guy's talking about fucking golf.
Yeah, exactly.
Know your audience, Bob.
Exactly.
Know your audience a little bit.
Well,
Take the temperature.
It's funny, Don, that you mentioned that, Bob Hope, because I actually, during my pandemic sick time, went in kicking and screaming and watched the 3 seasons of Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, which I didn't want to watch.
Right.
Because
I didn't want to watch.
I didn't. I don't want, whenever civilians tell you you have to watch because it's about comedy, you go, yeah,
It's gonna be awful.
yeah. And I do have to admit, I did the same thing with, and it helped once I did it. I did the same thing with Maisel that I did with I'm Dying Up Here, where I went, okay, I have to disassociate the comedy aspect as far as things don't really happen like this quickly, but
right.
They can happen. So I have to let that go. And what got me was their use of, I don't know if you guys have watched the show, but they'll have her in a club in New York, and suddenly a star comic will walk in, and it's like Jackie Vernon. You know what I mean? And you're like, oh my God, that's so cool. Right. And they have a guy doing Jackie Vernon. And and like who know? The only people who know Jackie Vernon, he was the voice of Frosty.
Right. Happy birthday. Yeah.
Yeah. Comic in the 50s and the 60s. They mentioned Bob Newhart. They meant, they're
Richie's going, they looked over me. I can't believe it. He did a Richie Byrne type. I'm right here.
You know what else turned me on to it, though, was I didn't realize that Don Sherman, it's his daughter and his son-in-law that created it. Do you guys know Don's dead now, but he was like a really well-known comic, really great comic. He was in all the Rocky movies, and I worked with him on a cruise ship back in the 90s, and he couldn't have been – he was like a legend on the cruises.
That's awesome.
His daughter. And I think a lot of the comics that she uses in the show were probably friends of Don's, because she comes up with these guys where you're going, where did she come up with that? You know what I mean? And it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool that way.
I agree.
You realize that there were a lot of comics back in the 50s who really changed. Everyone talks about Lenny Bruce, but you look at what Newhart was doing, you look at what Jonathan Winters was doing. Like there's a huge arc from the Bob Hope, George Burns to Pryor and whoever. And in the middle were all these guys who were going up, because think about it, they're going up in houses in New York City, where there's just was, Peter, Paul, and Mary just finished, and now you got to go up.
Right, there weren't clubs, yeah.
Well, I think we just figured out Richie's topic, emerging comics from the 50s.
No.
Yeah, there you
With
go.
Richie.
No, I have to admit, it got me thinking about that. Those old, what was the word they used?
And you think about like Carlin and Pryor back then were suit and tie guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they first came out.
So it's like,
Lenny Bruce was a Catskill comic who did imitations.
Yeah, he used to do impressions and song and dance, all that stuff. Yeah.
the original Dice Clay.
Well, it wasn't
the guy doing impressions.
Exactly.
Wasn't Phyllis Diller like she was like one of the only women who started out doing that? I think she was 36 when she started, and a mom.
She was already a mom and divorced. I think she was a single mom and all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think I read she got 12 laughs per minute on some of her jokes in the beginning, and the audiences were kind of like, what's happening here? There's a woman doing this? They didn't know what to make of it,
She was heavily influenced and by Bob Hope, actually, too. And if you watch some of her stuff, especially after Bob Hope took her under his wing for a while, and when you listen to some of her stuff, you can hear that rhythm, that Bob Hope rhythm in her stuff, because she was great one-liners, man.
Yeah.
And It was.
Well, I love she also designed boots to make her legs look even skinnier, and she like made her makeup make her uglier and her hair look uglier, and she talked about her fake husband Fang and like all this stuff. But it's also sad in the respect that she had to like try to play on the fact that she was this ugly woman and all that stuff. But if without her, women like me, we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing right now. So I applaud her for doing that, because man, that must have been scary to be the only woman like doing stuff, you know?
Well,
like
Tony Fields was out there too, though, at the time. She was filthy. I mean, she was filthy.
Yeah, Tony.
On the television is beyond me, because her act was like Red Fox would go, geez, calm down.
But it was weird how women back then, they you know, like the Tony Fields and them had to be dirty, but also they had to, like you were saying about Phyllis Diller, had to get herself uglier, and like Mom's Mabley did her whole career as an old woman. I mean, think about it. She started her career, I think she was in her 20s, but dressed as an old lady with the house coat and the hat and everything, and stayed that character until she actually grew into it years later. And then she actually was an old lady.
it's so funny that you did a topic on sexy comedians, you know what I mean? Because like people don't generally think of comedians as being sexy, and especially like female comedians. If you look too good, there was a time that people didn't want you to do comedy. They were like, no, you have to have something wrong with you. You can't look too good, because they got mad. Isn't that dumb? Like they're like, no, we don't like you being funny. You can't be funny and
it is, but it's also with guys. If a guy's too like, I mean, like Rogan is like a crazy thing, because it's like he's in shape, he's smart, and people don't want to laugh at people like that. They want John Panette.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's like, I don't want this guy who I'm looking at and like, man, I'd like to be that guy.
Well, when you look at, like, remember Joe Piscopo also started working out, and
he lost his mojo.
Yeah, he lost the funny. It's crazy. And then like Carrot Top, all of a sudden Carrot Top's got like a neck like this, and he's and all of a sudden he's
but you know
something.
Don, to some degree, I don't think that has to do with being good looking or sexy. I think it has to do with going, what's he like? People start going, what's he doing to it? What you're not thinking about his act anymore. You're thinking about what the hell's up with his neck?
Right, exactly. It's distraction.
Yeah, it's distracted the crowd from what you're there for. It's the strange to me. I never understood it, you know.
In the early 2000s, there was a thing kind of going on. There was a fad where it was like models that basically somebody wrote them 5 minutes of material.
A lot of soap stars were doing it. It was brutal.
And it was like, dude, let the funny people do it. Yeah. Why are you?
Yeah,
it's true.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you a good list. How about the 5 best straight men?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Oh.
And I don't mean for the young people out there. I don't mean heterosexual comics, by the way.
I'm right now. I'm going to tell you my number 1 would be Phil Hartman. That's it. Like, I love him so much. Oh my God,
a solid one.
Mine might be. You're gonna laugh. Mine might be Zeppo Marx. You ever watch Zeppo Marx when Groucho's just going off, and Zeppo just knows when he come in, when to go out, when to come in. And Groucho claims Zeppo was the funniest Marx brother, but couldn't put it on screen or stage. That he was hysterical off stage, but on stage he was terrible.
Right. That's why I love that topic you came up with, because people forget or don't even think about it, how important the straight man is to make it work.
Bing Crosby, George Burns. People forget what an amazing straight man George Burns.
George Burns is a great one, yeah, because he was originally the funny one, and Gracie was supposed to be the straight woman,
right?
And then he switched it up, which was the brilliant move, and then I mean, Gracie and George and Gracie just blew up through, and everybody loved Gracie. Yeah. Also, I think the greatest though is was it? I always get them mixed up, Abbott and Costello, but I think Lou Abbott.
Bud Abbott.
Bud Abbott is probably the
Bud Abbott was tremendous.
The template for what a straight man should be. Yeah.
Yes. You know what? You're right. He really, I mean, he was just amazing. Just so gifted. I mean, you could even look at Oliver Hardy as a straight man.
Oh, yeah. He was great.
It's interesting how there's just really aren't. It's funny how there aren't duets anymore. I guess because the money sucks. There aren't.
Not in stand-up, but I think in films, like if you look at like Will Ferrell and Owen Wilson and Paul Rudd.
Definitely. In films, there's always got to be, but they call it the buddy movies.
Right.
Yeah, the buddy.
Yeah. But
because then like with Cheech and Chong, there wasn't a straight man.
Yeah.
And it still worked. I guess it was whoever they played off of, especially in the movies. Yeah. I was just thinking of different comedy teams and because the Smothers Brothers, Dick Smothers was a good front man, a good straight man.
Tremendous. Yeah.
What is it about this podcast? Whenever we're on, I get a text message from somebody that somebody died.
Oh my God.
Oh no.
Peter Bogdanovich.
Did he really?
Oh.
Yeah, they got Sopranos. That's so weird. And he was Melfi's psychiatrist on The Sopranos.
Oh yeah.
How old was he? He had to be close to 90.
82.
All right, 82.
God bless.
Man.
I was going to say a straight man. She's actually a straight woman, and it kind of goes with death because something, Rose Nyland just died, but Dorothy Zbornak on The Golden Girls was a great straight woman.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
One of the best.
I just want to know how she came out of Sophia. Dorothy is like 7 foot tall, and Sophia's like 3.5 foot.
The author was an amazing comedian.
So funny.
And I mean, just deadpan. The way she delivered a line was just, it was sickening the way she could deliver a line.
My God, and that voice of hers. I saw her live.
Rose.
Her live Broadway show. I guess that was like almost 20 years ago now. It was like 2004 or something like that on Broadway. She had such a presence. I was in like maybe the 5th row, and you would just watch her. She wouldn't even be doing anything, and you're like, what's she doing? She was amazing. It was obvious that she was just a star, but man, she's funny. Just like the way she would move her head, and you'd laugh, and she wasn't even saying anything.
Just to react.
Yeah, and I felt like I was in a master class watching that Broadway show, and she was telling stories, and oh man, I feel so lucky I got to see her live. Oh, it was great.
Nobody could shoot daggers like her, like just and it was like
she was a huge Broadway star before she was big Broadway musical star. No, people don't realize that, She was tremendous.
Yeah, she did Mame.
I was working up in the Finger Lakes with Spanky, and 3 gigs in a row, she was in the Opera House or the Giant Theater in the same town, and we're like, damn you, B. Arthur!
That's awesome. Yeah, she was in Mame, and I always think of her, will always be buzz on bodies. And it's just, I was a musical theater major, so I had to study all that stuff. So I always had to hear, remember records? You put them on the record player. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We had that in our college library. We had to go and put the big headphones on and sit in the lab and listen to the cast albums. And can you imagine kids doing that now? They wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I used to do that in college too, where you'd have to go and the big headphones. Yeah, in the librry. Yeah. Now you just go to YouTube if you want to see anything. You can,
Yeah, you just click on it in your house on your phone, So
I know.
Yeah.
I love being the old guy telling my kids, like, we used to have to look in encyclopedias. We didn't just get the Google everything.
Do they even update encyclopedias anymore? Like, I wonder if there's still, like, if I wanted to get a collection, if I could, like, get the new 2021 collection. You
can online.
Yeah. Well, we used to have that. They used to come in the mail. Like, you get the updates.
Yeah, you get, like, the first book. 4 books.
Yeah.
And then the next week you get the next 4.
Yeah, exactly. That was awesome.
I always did my reports on something that started with A or B because that's what we had for encyclopedia.
Mom and Dad said, I'm not paying for the rest of them till you read those ones.
Every year, Vicky did a great report on ABBA.
That you know it, or the Bee Gees, Robin and Maurice, they are twins,
Oh my God.
So all of these lists are always comedy has to be involved in the list in some way?
Not all the time. Like I said, I did the punk rock one. I did ones with rap music and stuff like that. I'm trying to branch out, do some different stuff. Like I wanted to do, top 5 hair bands from the 80s and stuff like that. And just, but comedy, it just always goes back to comedy. Like I'm doing one, the top 5 Saturday morning cartoons from yeah. So that should be fun because I think people forgotten about how great the Saturday mornings were for our generation when we wake up and it's a bowl of cereal, you're watching all these cartoons, and it's just weird that's gone. That kind of magic is gone. I mean, yeah, this new generation probably have their own things that they will love and grow to love and look back on, but for us that was special. So and forgotten in a way,
Well, it's weird to think like a kindergartner going to school and talking about binge watching. Like we binge watched, but they were different shows.
Right,
like,
right, yeah.
I remember I loved television so much as a kid. I used to wake up like 3 hours before everybody else. Like if everybody else had to get up at 6, I would wake up at like 3, go downstairs and watch TV because I got to watch whatever I wanted.
Right, exactly.
Sad thing is I would watch the Munsters. Not that edgy.
Yeah, all those shows like was it Sigmund and the Sea Monsters and that stuff was still around when I was a kid, and then it became more and more of a thing with the cartoons. Like, so that's going to be a fun one. I
remember Captain Cool and the Kongs.
Yeah.
Hong Kong Phooey.
Hong Kong
Phooey.
Really?
Number 1 superstar.
I actually, it's funny you say that because for some reason I Wikipedia'd Hong Kong Phooey the other day.
Hong Kong
Phooey didn't have a lot of episodes. It felt like that show was on my whole childhood, but they were only about like Captain Caveman.
Yes, Captain Caveman. Yes.
That was my nickname in my early 20s. Everybody called me Captain Caveman because I had my beard grows up to here.
Oh wow.
And I had real long hair, and everybody would just be like, they call me Captain Caveman. So
nice.
I have a special thing in my heart for Captain Caveman.
Nice.
Inspector Gadget. Remember Inspector Gadget?
Inspector Gadget, yeah.
Scooby-Doo was my favorite. I love Scooby-Doo. But it was when they actually solved the mysteries. I hated it when they like added Scooby-Dum and Scrappy-Doo, and like I was like, oh, you're ruining it.
Yeah,
but it was so good with the real mysteries.
Yeah. And looking at Scooby-Doo today and realizing that it was complete stoner show.
Yeah, I know, right? When you really break it down and watch it.
You realize that like they were high. They were fucking high, man.
Scooby snacks.
And Fred was just trying to get laid.
With his scarf on, his neckerchief or whatever that is.
Yeah.
And Daphne, she was like the blonde, the red, right? The red hair.
Who was the short-haired one? The first lesbian? I have a
Thelma.
Thelma. Yes. You look back, you go, I get it.
There's a porno that's based on Scooby-Doo. And I won't mention why I know that, but there is a porno based on Scooby-Doo. And it has a scene with Daphne and Thelma. So there you go.
At least it didn't have any bestiality.
I was so back in Scooby.
Yeah.
Mama McGill says no. Thelma loved Fred for sure.
And the Halls of Justice, wasn't that like Super Friends? I used to love Super Friends.
That was big one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember what were the puppets? They weren't Saturday though. They were the Thunderbirds.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, those guys are like the marionette
Team
puppets.
America.
Yeah.
Was spoofed off of that.
Yeah, that was on during the week every morning. That was on when you were getting ready for school. The Thunderbirds.
Yeah, those guys.
There was one. It was called like the Saturday Morning All Stars, and it was like Wayne Gretzky, Michael Jordan, Bo Jackson, and there was somebody else. And they all like were the baseball and football stars, and they fought crime together.
What?
That's awesome. I do remember that. I forgot about that one. I'm writing that down.
No, I remember the Brady Bunch cartoon because they had like some weird like parrot on it or something, and I'm like, who is drinking that created this cartoon? Why? It's like they had that instead of Alice. I was like, what is happening here?
Remember HR Puppet stuff? That was
yes.
How on acid were they?
With Witchy Poo and that little weird thing
Jimmy,
they used to play. Yeah.
And the flute. Yeah. The fucking
Land of the Lost was my favorite.
Yeah, that was weird. Yeah.
Land of the Lost with the ski stacks and stuff. Ooh,
you should do a thing on top 5 commercials during those morning shows. The Indian cried.
Oh
yes.
Yeah.
The Coca-Cola commercial.
There was always Coca-Cola. I'd like to tea. But there was always one about some kid. He wasn't a kid. He was like a teenager who was a drug addict. And he's he's running around the city, like the Bronx, like all fucked up. And at one point he throws up. I remember I'm like, this is the most disgusting commercial I've ever seen.
I do not remember that.
And then there was one, a kid, he's like a kid in college, and he says to the camera, Dad had it all figured out. He would pay, I would hit the books, and he would pay for it. He just didn't plan on dying. And then and the guy's working like he's a dishwasher or something. And John Travolta was the fucking kid. He was the guy.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I remember
I'm giving away my age right now, but this had to be like 1973, around there.
Wow, write this down.
I remember the Brain on Drugs one. You know,
yeah, that
like,
was later.
Oh, yeah.
That was a great one. Any questions?
I remember that one. I remember there was one for like, do you remember the summer fruits? It wouldn't be summer without them. Fresh from the tree. And they would,
you're younger than me.
Maybe that was, no, that was in the 70s and early 80s. Maybe that was like a regional thing, but it was always like oranges and apples and things like that. That was like our sign summer was coming. We're like, yes, summer fruits commercial. And we got all excited. Summer's coming, you know.
Who was the guy who did narrated Frosty the Snowman?
Durante. Jimmy.
Did you guys remember he had a Saturday morning commercial for a cereal called Crispy Critters?
Jimmy
Durante did?
And then come out and here comes Crispy Critters, a wholesome bunch. Low sugar cereal with lots of crunch.
Oh, that's
incredibly delicious.
That's awesome.
No, I remember that Trix the Rabbit, you know, for the Trix cereal. And then the chocolate, remember the chocolate milk thing for Quick?
Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Was a big one.
Why do we have so many diabetic people our age? Jesus, it's all sugar.
Remember the Count Chocula and
Don
Berry? I've got strawberry flavor.
Yes.
You know who that was? The guy who did I've got strawberry flavored marshmallow. That was Brian McFadden's father.
Oh
no.
Yeah, that's right. He was. So you have to check this one out. That's pure bogan. It's a Scottish anti-smoking commercial.
That's pure
check
bogan.
that one out. I remember. Now, did you guys have those like 1-800 numbers? Those were really popular when I was a kid. And you'd call these 1-800 numbers, and like cartoon characters would talk to you, and it was like $2.99 a minute. It was like sex lines for little kids.
I don't remember that.
We had
1-900-490 freak. Join the party. That's an easy way.
We had the Jackie line, the Jackie joke man. Use your finger. It's still active today. If I can remember the number, was it 922 wine or something like that? But anyway, yeah, we had that.
Yeah, 922 wine. I think that was
Yeah. Yeah, so it's still going today. All these years, it's crazy. He still has it set up. But but we had that. We used to call that a lot just to get the jokes from Jackie back then in the day. and then the actual sex lines. My father would be like with the phone bill, what the hell?
Did you guys have like the antenna on your roof and you had to turn the thing to like,
Yes.
and you had it marked with the little stickers, like this is channel 4, that's channel 11. And it would be like, and you could hear it turning on the thing. Our neighbor, Stewie Stinchfield, if you're watching, Stu, how are you? He had a UHF one. So we would go over to his house and he got channel 38 out of Boston and we could watch Casper the Friendly Ghost and the Flintstones and all that. And we were so excited. We'd like run over after school and we'd be like, oh my God, let's watch the good shows. We only got like, channel 4 and channel 6. And so we got like just the 4 channels, the regular networks. And sometimes they didn't come in. So
I remember having the UHF channel.
Oh yeah, top dial.
Uncle Floyd. That's how you watched Uncle Floyd when I was a kid.
Oh yeah,
Jeff.
Yeah, we
Hey
would
guys,
watch.
I hate to be a party pooper here, but we're hitting the top of the hour. I gotta bounce. I can take myself out, and Richie, if you guys want to keep going.
I gotta go. But this was
Well,
great.
Don, we have to have you back on. This was so much fun, and we're just hitting.
Now we're full, man.
Yeah,
went
we're
by so
nailing
fast.
some nostalgia.
Yeah. Well, you guys rock. I appreciate you guys having me on. Thank you so much. Thank you. Richie, Mark, Vicky. This has been a blast.
Cool.
So,
Man.
Don, plug away. Tell us one more time where people can find your podcast, Top 5.
Yeah, check me out. Top 5s with Don Sill. You can find it on govsradio.com. You can also find it on my own page, Put Up, Shut Up, and Stand Up on YouTube. So check us out. And yeah, man, we have some new ones coming up.
We didn't do a drink or a joke.
Oh, let's do it. Well, let's Vicky, where can people find you? And then we'll go out on a drink and joke.
You can find me on Instagram, Vicky Plummer Comedian. And as far as like doing live shows, I'm not really doing any right now because of, this thing called COVID. So but I will get it back out there soon. But yeah, thank you so much. This was great. You are super cool.
Well,
all of you are super cool.
We'll definitely be having you back on a bunch. So thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go with our drink and joke.
All right.
Richie,
Well, I have coffee. I haven't had a drink since Christmas. I'm trying.
I got a fresh batch of homemade Kahlua from Mommy. So
nice.
Christmas was good to me. So I've been sipping in a little coffee with homemade Kahlua in it. And the Kahlua is strong enough. I can't believe I still have facial hair. It's
Captain Caveman.
Yes.
And Richie, do you got a joke, or does anybody have a joke that pertains?
Don, do you have a good joke to take us out on, like a street joke or anything?
I do not at the moment. I'm not.
All right, I got. You ready? All right. Guy goes to the dentist. He's in the chair, and the dentist goes, your tooth is a mess. I gotta pull it. I gotta take it out. So I'm gonna give you a shot, Novocaine it up, and the guy goes, I hate needles. I can't do needles. He goes, all right. He goes, I'll put some gas over, and he goes, oh no, I can't have a mask around my face. It makes me crazy. I can't have a mask around your face. He goes, all right. He says, well, I'm going to give you some Viagra. And the guy goes, what? Does Viagra help to numb the pain? He goes, no, but you need something to grab onto when I yank that motherfucker.
Yes.
Oh my God, that's so great.
That's good, Mama.
Mama.
So I guess Richie, do you have anything you want to plug or anything
No,
you want to
not a fucking thing, Mark. Not a fucking thing. Not a thing.
I like how mad he was.
I have no job, no career.
He's going to the
I
bathroom later.
can rely on is COVID on Christmas. It's a very COVID Christmas.
It's a very COVID Christmas starring Richie Byrne. Well, tonight, if you're available, I will be at the. I'll be in the Philadelphia Punchline. Come and check out a show.
Cool.
You guys, thank you for coming. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Mark Rigodana. That's Richie Byrne, Vicky Plummer, Don Sill. Good night, everyone.